I'm Liyana Hassanel and this is Nightline, the top stories. Target to create 500,000 job opportunities shall be achieved, says Prime Minister. Government mulling over circuit breaker method to break COVID-19 infection. Good morning. The government is on track to achieve its target of creating 500,000 jobs after 376,000 job seekers managed to find employment through initiatives implemented by the federal government's National Employment Council, NEC. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the success of finding job placements exceeded the government's target for the first 9 months of this year, with 354,276 job vacancies filled up to September 30th, 2021. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said the figures which were disclosed during the third NEC meeting that was held on Wednesday affirmed the government's intention of creating 500,000 job opportunities for this year. The NEC was set up to tackle unemployment in the country and to create new job opportunities, with a target of creating 500,000 jobs and skills training placements through strategic collaboration between government agencies and industry players. In a statement on Thursday, the Prime Minister said the government has also successfully generated more than 97,000 new jobs through domestic investments, whereby 76% of them comprised skilled and semi-skilled categories. To further empower the labour force in the country, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said the government will now carry out the National Job Creation Strategic Plan NJCSP with support from 5 specialised task forces under the NEC. He said this will be achieved through 6 main cores: enhancing cooperation between industries and academia, nurturing talent to meet industry needs, empowering local entrepreneurs to thrive in the current economy, leveraging the gig economy with income-generating opportunities in mind, driving the growth of new and modern sectors, and accelerating the adoption of modern workplace practices. The 6 main cores will be used as a guideline for the purpose of game-changing implementations, including the application of artificial intelligence for career matching and planning, while improving the marketability and quality of technical and vocational education and training (TVET) graduates. The government is confident that the NEC strategy, including the execution of the NJCSP, will ensure the economic recovery momentum continues, while at the same time address worker shortages in certain sectors, wage issues and employment fairness for the vulnerable. The Health Ministry is mulling to implement containment measures in an event where an area records a surge in COVID-19 infections. Health Minister Khairy said although the measures have yet to be finalised, they were expected to be implemented as Malaysia transitions into the pre-endemic phase.
Apa yang kita nak avoid adalah total national lockdown or statewide lockdown. But we must have in place dengan izin Yang Dipertua satu sistem circuit breaker yang cepat untuk kita menghentikan penularan.
He said in his winding-up speech on the motion of thanks to the royal address in Parliament on Thursday. On another matter, Khairy said it is unlikely that interstate travel will lead to a spike in new COVID-19 cases and said that the main culprits for new cases were large gatherings or congregations.
Kita telah buat unjuran Yang Berhormat Kuala Selangor. Apabila kita mencapai 90% dewasa, kurang lebih liputan untuk seluruh penduduk adalah lebih daripada 60%. Then we will also start catching up on the peak remaja. Tetapi kita juga telah buat keputusan bahawa merentas negeri itu on its own tidak meningkatkan kes. Cuma congregation yang berlaku itu yang menyebabkan kes-kes penularan. Jadi we will have to look at the public health measures. Lifting the borders alone is not the issue so much.
As such, he reminded the public to adhere to all standard operating procedures set by the government, as it would greatly help the country in breaking the chain of COVID-19 infection.
Melakar semula landscape sosioekonomi fasa endemik COVID-19 ke arah transformasi digital. Persekitaran lestari memulihkan ekonomi menuju 2025. Saksikan program khas Pembentangan Rancangan Malaysia ke-12. Isnin 27 September, 11 pagi, hanya di TV3.
Malaysia is on track to fully vaccinate its adult population by the end of October. Finance Minister Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul Abdul said there is over 300 billion ringgit worth of assistance still available, which will support the nation's gross domestic product that is expected to grow between 3 and 4% this year.
As recovery gathers momentum, our nation will be on track to achieve growth between 5 to 6% in 2022, based on the latest projections by World Bank and the IMF. Ultimately, it is important to highlight.
In his opening address at the Cooler Earth Sustainability Summit on Thursday, he said Malaysia needs a transformation of the economic and financial systems, as well as sectors pertaining to food, water and energy. The country also needs to realign more incentives towards clean energy and the circular economy, ending the free ride that industrial polluters have had over the years. In other news, Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul said more than 1 million micro-entrepreneurs and small and medium enterprises, SMEs, have benefited from the 6.08 billion ringgit obtained through the government's Special Prihatin Special Grant GKP payments since the COVID-19 pandemic hit Malaysia in 2020. He said the recent GKP, which is the fourth series of payments, has been banked into recipients' bank accounts on September 21st. Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul said the first payment on September 21st was 500 ringgit to more than 1 million micro SMEs, while he also explained that this was the first phase of the payment with an additional 500 ringgit to be paid in November.
Setakat ini, seperti saya sebut tadi, lebih 1 juta usahawan mikro layak menerima GKP 4.0. Bagi negeri yang berhormat, iaitu negeri Selangor, hampir 196,000 usahawan mikro telah mendapat manfaat dari bantuan GKP dengan peruntukan sejumlah 1.2 bilion ringgit.
Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul was replying to Sabak Bernam MP Datuk Muhammad Faziah Muhammad Fakih at the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday. Datuk Muhammad Faziah also asked the Finance Minister to explain the roles of development banks in helping micro traders. Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul replied that the role of these development financial institutions, DFIs, is to support and ensure the longevity of micro-entrepreneurs and SMEs by facilitating financing and loan packages for them. He said the ministry has asked the DFIs to draft practical solutions to limit the use of burdensome financing criteria to help businesses recover and operate as the economy is reopening in the country. He also said DFIs such as Bank Simpanan Nasional, Bank Kerjasama Rakyat, Agrobank and SME Bank have implemented initiatives and financing schemes worth 8.1 billion ringgit through Bank Negara Malaysia. The implementation of the face-to-face classroom learning and home-based teaching and learning, or PDPR, on a rotational basis is aimed at restoring students' morale. Senior Education Minister Datuk Dr. Radzi Jiden said the move was following the difficult period faced by the country since 2020, which caused schools to be closed for a long period. Datuk Dr. Radzi said the ministry was aware that when schools reopened in March this year, parents and the community saw that the situation in schools were safe. However, after school hours were somewhat chaotic, besides there being problems of congestion. He said the ministry then subsequently sat down to discuss the best approach towards the situation, especially taking into account the Delta variant, and came up with the idea of reducing the number of students by half.
Guru akan menetapkan kumpulan murid dan giliran mereka untuk hadir ke sekolah. Guru kemudiannya akan memaklumkan kepada setiap kumpulan murid tentang persediaan yang perlu dilaksanakan semasa mereka menjalani PDPR secara sendiri atau sebelum mereka hadir ke sekolah untuk PDP bersemuka.
He was responding to a supplementary question from Bayan Baru MP Simsid Sin in the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday. He said the ministry would also provide a manual on the rotational learning and teaching PDP as a guide for headmasters, teachers, students, parents and guardians to ensure its smooth implementation when schools open from October 3rd. In Perlis, at least 95% of 16-year-olds and above will receive COVID-19 vaccine this week. State Education Director Naharuddin Othman said, based on the percentage, the schools will be a safe place for the students. As of September 23rd, all students agreed to receive the vaccination.
Dan kita juga mengharapkan para pelajar juga tidak ramai yang menolak vaksin ini kerana ini juga memerlukan kerjasama daripada ibu bapa untuk memberikan vaksin kepada anak-anak mereka.
Speaking to the media after an event in Kangar, Perlis, Naharuddin said that 26 teachers rejected the vaccination. Apart from health issues, several individuals also did not agree to be vaccinated.
Setakat sekarang yang hardcore tu masih lagi kekal lah sebagai hardcore menolak vaksin. Tapi kita dalam tempoh sekarang ni kita tidak menggunakan kaedah paksaan. Kita memujuk dan kita berharap mereka ini akan sedarkan tanggungjawab mereka untuk mengajar dan berhadapan dengan para pelajar. Jadi itulah harapan saya, semoga kumpulan hardcore ni akan berkurangan lah. Dan apabila berkurangan tu lebih mudah kita nak menguruskan dari aspek pembelajaran para pelajar ni.
As of Thursday, teachers with health problems have been referred to the hospital. In August, Perlis Executive Councillor in charge of education, Rosina Ahmad, revealed a total of 26 teachers in Perlis refused to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Initially, there were the 91 teachers who rejected the vaccine, but after discussions, 65 agreed to get vaccinated. In Sarawak, a total of 1,200 children of the Malaysian Army and Defence Ministry personnel in Sarawak, aged between 12 and 17, received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine on Thursday. Malaysian Army 1st Division Infantry Assistant Director General for Health Services, Colonel Dr. Mior Khairy Sagiruddin said a total of 5 vaccination centres, namely a drive-through centre in Kuching and Sibu respectively, and 1 PPV each in Sri Aman, Bintulu and Miri, had been opened throughout Sarawak for the initiative.
Okey, kita akan atur sebab pada masa sama JKN negeri, JKN pun akan melaksanakan program vaksinasi ini. Jadi kita tengok yang mana yang terdekat. Anda kata JKN ataupun pihak sekolah ada anjurkan masa terdekat, mereka boleh pergi ke sana juga. Tak ada masalah. Tidak semestinya kena ambil dengan ATM.
He said this when met by the reporters after observing the vaccination for Army children in Penrison Camp, Kuching. He added that all vaccinations had been carried out simultaneously on Thursday, except for Miri, which will be carried out on Friday. He said the second dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine would be given on October 14th.
What makes Selangor one of the most attractive investment destinations in this region? What's the strategy to entice more investors to the Golden State? And what are the high potential sectors for its future growth? Selangor State Executive Councillor for Industry and Trade, Dato' Teng Chang Kim, speaks to Money Matters on opportunities in Malaysia's most developed state this Saturday at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
Coming up, arrest warrant issued for Rucastle Brown after no show.
Kalau semua ejen dah pakai Iris, Mata perlukan saya lagi ke?
Semua rimau aku serang, aku masih boleh tendang. Kalau nampak jangan cengang, kalau kacau benang kami nanti dengar gendang perang. Lepas lawan yang di sini lawan yang sebelah. Kita jaga kita.
The Kuala Terengganu Magistrates Court on Thursday issued an arrest warrant for Sarawak Report editor Claire Rucastle-Brown, 62, for failing to show up for proceedings in a suit linked to Sultanah of Terengganu, Sultanah Nur Zahirah. Magistrate Liyana Abdul Aziz issued the warrant following an application by the prosecution. She also set November 23rd for case mention. Rucastle-Brown was supposed to appear in court on Thursday to face a charge under Section 500 of the Penal Code for making disparaging statement about Sultanah Nur Zahirah in her book, The Sarawak Report, The Inside Story of the 1MDB Expose. Sultanah Nur Zahirah earlier filed for defamation against Rucastle-Brown, publishers GB Gerak Budaya Enterprise Sdn Bhd and Chong Ton Sin and printer Vinlin Press Sdn Bhd. The Sultanah is seeking 100 million ringgit in damages from each defendant. Selangor police busted a syndicate stealing and modifying electricity supply to carry out Bitcoin mining activities around the state. The arrest resulted in the biggest seizure of Bitcoin set up with 1.282 million ringgit. State Police Chief Dato' Arjunaidi Mohamad said in the integrated operation on September 21st, the Police and Tenaga Nasional Berhad, TNB Special Engagement Against Losses team launched an operation and raided 30 premises that were carrying out the mining activities in 8 Selangor districts. During the raids, police also arrested 9 local men, aged between 18 and 27, who later revealed the other premises where the maintenance of the machines were under their control.
Nilai keseluruhan mesin Bitcoin yang dirampas adalah sebanyak 1.282 juta. Ya, 1.282 juta. 600 kali 2,137 unit lah. Dan hasil sihatan dari sikan dipercayai aktiviti ini berjalan untuk tempoh lebih kurang 1 tahun, bermula September 2020. Dan nilai kerugian oleh TNB akibat daripada aktiviti yang ini, sindiket yang ini, adalah sebanyak nilai 24.360 juta.
Police also seized 10 laptops, 5 sets of computers, and 6 units of Ethereum mining graphics card. The suspects have been remanded between 2 and 4 days under the Penal Code and the Electric Supply Act. Police are actively tracing the mastermind of the group to assist in the investigation. The Royal Malaysian Customs Department foiled an attempt to distribute 28 kilograms of methamphetamine drugs estimated to be worth 1 million ringgit following a raid in Puchong, Selangor on September 13th. Customs Director General Datuk Sri Abdul Latif Abdul Kadir said a pair of twins were among 5 individuals detained by authorities on suspicion of being involved in the syndicate. Datuk Sri Abdul Latif said that in the 6 p.m. incident, a team from its narcotics branch detained a Proton Saga car with 2 men in it at a parking lot in front of a hotel. He said that during the inspection, the driver sped off and collided with the vehicle of a customs officer in Jalan Bandar, Puchong, before fleeing on foot.
Pasukan berjaya menahan salah seorang suspek lelaki warga negara Indonesia bersembunyi di sebuah kedai sekitar Bandar Puchong dan salah seorang suspek telah berjaya melarikan diri.
Following the incident, he said police then arrested 4 men aged between 27 and 31, including the one who fled during the first raid at separate locations on Monday. All those detained tested positive for methamphetamine. The syndicate's modus operandi was to hide drugs in bags kept in the boot of vehicles, apart from using stolen vehicles with fake registration numbers and always changing the vehicles used in order to prevent detection. Datuk Sri Abdul Latif said the investigation also found that the drugs were meant to be sent to Indonesia by sea. The case is being investigated under Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. After the break, Thailand seeks to slash COVID-19 quarantine period for visitors.
semua ejen dah pakai Iris, Mata perlukan saya lagi ke?
Semua rimau aku serang, aku masih boleh tendang. Kalau nampak jangan jengang, kalau kacau benang kami nanti dengar gendang perang. Lepas lawan yang di sini, lawan yang sebelah. Kita jaga kita.
Onto the foreign front. Less than a week after China applied to join the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, CPTPP, Taiwan has done the same. New Zealand's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade has confirmed it has received a formal request from the separate customs territory of Taiwan, Penghu, Kinmen and Matsu, which is often shortened to Chinese Taipei. The customs territory is the term used by the World Trade Organization, which admitted Taiwan within weeks of China being admitted in December 2001. It is also the term used by New Zealand in its free trade agreement with Taiwan, signed in 2013, 5 years after New Zealand's FTA with China. China submitted its application to CPTPP on Thursday last week to New Zealand, which administers the Secretariat for the CPTPP. The deal, formerly known as TPP, is a trade agreement among 11 countries, excluding the United States, and which was signed in 2018 after 10 years of negotiation. Myanmar is facing the alarming prospect of an escalating civil war as an uprising against the military junta widens. The UN's Human Rights Chief, Michelle Bachelet, warned the United Nations Human Rights Council on Thursday. That time was running out for other countries to step up efforts to restore democracy and prevent a broader conflict. Myanmar has been in turmoil since Aung San Suu Kyi government was ousted by the military in February, sparking a nationwide uprising that the junta has tried to crush. Attacks on troops have increased since lawmakers ousted by the generals called for a People's Defensive War earlier this month. Bachelet said the human rights situation had deteriorated significantly as the effects of the coup devastate lives and hopes across the country. Thailand's Disease Control Committee has proposed a halving of a 2-week hotel isolation requirement for vaccinated arrivals, amid delays in plans to waive quarantine and reopen Bangkok and tourist destinations from next month. Under the proposal to be presented to government on Monday, those without vaccination proof would be isolated for 10 days if arriving by air and 14 days if by land. Tests would also be required upon arrival. Authorities this week delayed to November plans to grant vaccinated visitors entry without quarantine due to the country's low inoculation rate. Currently, only Phuket and Samui Islands currently waive quarantine for vaccinated tourists as part of a pilot scheme. Thailand is keen to welcome back foreign visitors after nearly 18 months of strict entry policies caused a collapse in tourism, a key sector that drew 40 million visitors in 2019. Actions from the Major League Soccer, sports up next.
semua ejen dah pakai Iris, Mata perlukan saya lagi ke?
Semua rimau aku serang, aku masih boleh tendang. Kalau nampak jangan jengah, kalau kacau pendang kami nanti dengar gendang perang. Lepas lawan yang di sini, lawan yang seberang. Kita jaga kita.
Sports. Haney Mukhtar's brace helped Nashville SC defeat Gonzalo Higuain and Inter Miami 5-1 on Wednesday night. Mukhtar opened the scoring in the 6th minute. Walker Zimmerman made it 2-0 in the 39th minute. In the 48th, Mukhtar raced to a loose ball at the penalty spot, took a touch and sent it to the empty net for a 3-0 lead. Randall Leal and Alistair Johnston scored the other 2 goals for Music City, who maintained their hold on second place in the Eastern Conference. Higuain scored for the 2nd time in his last 3 matches and the 10th time this season, but it was not enough for Miami to remain 3 points out of the playoff spot. On to tennis. Top seed Aslan Karatsev lost his opening match at the Astana Open after Emil Rusevori powered into the last 8 with a 7-6, 6-4 victory in Kazakhstan on Thursday. Karatsev reached the Australian Open semi-finals earlier this year, but his form has dipped since then and he has failed to win more than 2 consecutive singles matches since April. The Russian was given a first-round bye at the Astana Open, but his tournament is over after the world number 84 moved into the quarterfinals in Nur Sultan. In a match dominated by long rallies, Finland's Rusevori broke Karatsev 4 times during the 2 hours on court and will meet 8th-seeded Ilya Ivashka in the next round. Drifting meets dance battle, the wildest sport you've never heard of. Squealing rubber, raging engines, dizzying revs, and enough smoke to choke up a freight train. The sport of spinning is bursting out of the underground motorsports world and making a name for itself. Let's take a look as we wrap up Nightline this time around. I'm Liyana Hassanel. Thank you for watching and stay safe, Malaysia.